Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you're tuned in to another episode of Marking Out Amongst Friends, the podcast. Of course, you know I'm your host with the most. It's your boy Jay Riddy in the building. Also, I got my wonderful co-host in the building, Mr. VIP and Lady Great One. You guys, go ahead and say hi to the damn people.
Well, if I was going to be courteous and wait for Mr. VIP, but I'll go ahead and say it. What's up, my wonderful people? I hope everyone's having a glorious night because you know I am.
You know I am as well. It feel like I haven't talked to you guys in, say maybe like a week. You know, how's things been going? How y'all been doing?
Doing good, doing good. Just try to make it in here in this world.
Absolutely. We all are a slave to our 9 to 5, and it's always good to be able to just sit back and talk about something that we're all passionate about, like wrestling. I think wrestling is one of those things that just brings everybody together. And it's one of those things where even if I wasn't doing on the podcast, I could sit back and talk wrestling for hours on end with anybody. I just there's no better feeling in the world. There's no better topic in the world to me. And maybe I'm just being biased because this is our podcast, but who the fuck cares? Anyway, we got a lot of topics for y'all tonight. Of course, the number one topic that we're going to talk about first, WWE Extreme Rules. WWE Extreme Rules pay per view was this past weekend. Decent pay per view, if I do say so myself. I think that it was a lot better than I expected from WWE. A lot of the outcomes were shocking. And overall, I found it pretty enjoyable. How did you guys feel about the pay per view as a whole?
Well, for me as a whole, I had such high expectations. If you can recall, I gave the show an 8.5 in my prediction. Overall, it slightly just went under that. There was a couple spots that I felt could have been, a little bit different outcome. But overall, I'll give it a 7.5, 7.75. Still a good, very, very good show.
Mr. VIP, what you got on us for Extreme Rules? What do you say the Extreme Rules was? If you had to rate it 1 to 10, what you gonna give it?
Um, I'll probably say probably about a seven. Um, I think a lot of stuff we said ended up happening, and of course, it had some surprises in there that really brought a lot more than what we thought was going to go down.
I think I'll agree to a lot of what that is that Mr. VIP said. I think that there were a lot of stuff that we knew that would happen, a lot of predictable finishes. There was a lot of swerves that they threw in there as well, just because it was on paper very predictable. And then some of the stuff, even though it was predictable, I thought that it was just a good, enjoyable outcome, good, enjoyable match. Um, we'll just go down the list a little bit for some of the matches. Just like for me, for example, of course, we know the match that was going to stick out before it even started. The match that ended up being the main event, the 30-minute Iron Man match. We all knew it was the match of the night, and it didn't disappoint. What do you guys take away from that match as some of your favorite moments?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? That the Kevin Owens thing was crazy. That's an amazing bump. Um, like I said, I thought Kevin would probably win by getting thrown off, thrown through, but I didn't think he was going to get thrown off like that. Um, and then the shocking thing with Nakamura and Jeff Hardy, I don't think anybody thought it was going to end like that fast. And then the return of the real Randy Orton, the Apex Predator. Uh, yeah, that was very shocking. Um, we already knew that Iron Man was going to be amazing. That was pretty much in on the wall that was going to be an amazing match, and it didn't disappoint.
However, not to cut you off, but what did disappoint me was that annoying Royal Rumble style chant that the crowd was doing. It distracted me so bad that I could barely enjoy what was a classic in the making because I'm sitting up here and I'm getting into it. And all of a sudden I hear 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm like, okay, this is not Royal Rumble. I'm sitting up here. I've actually got to a point where I almost forgot and I was waiting for the next person to come out. That's how
And
hilarious and stupid and unnecessary that.
Mm-hmm.
crazy is that again, when the WWE gives the fans what they've been wanting, then you sit there and do that. You gave them, the Iron Man was the main event when everybody thought it was going to be Roman and Bobby. It was the main event. It was a great match, and still not happy, or still want to do something else to distract from the match that both everybody wanted.
I can definitely,
That
I can definitely agree. Y'all kind of jumped ahead of where I was kind of going with the best moments because I was going to jump into the worst moments, and I knew that was going to be the first thing that everybody brought up. But it's cool. I think that that was definitely my worst moment of the night. Was just the crowd, and it's just ironic that last week's topic we were just talking about how fans ruin, wrestling in this day and age, and there
Ta-da!
was Exhibit A right there. You got two of the best wrestlers, the best pure wrestlers in the company, um, in WWE, where everyone talks about they don't focus on wrestling. They're not only giving you two of the best performers in the company, the best wrestlers in the company. They give you a 30-minute Iron Man match, and they give you a mid card title being pushed as a main event title, and you try to hijack that. And I wonder why people think that the WWE doesn't respect their opinions. Like, I wonder why people think that they don't respect their opinions because when they do give you what you want, look what you do. You squat all over it. So, I mean, what's the point?
I must say that that was probably the most annoying thing, and especially since we had just talked about this last week. That was just so annoying. It was so distracting. Uh, like I said, I literally found myself at one point in time looking to see who was going to come up because the fans were just so distracting in that. And I knew it wasn't a Royal Rumble match. I knew it was an Iron Man match. And I knew that I got distracted and I knew that you could see them getting frustrated, clearly frustrated with the fans. And even I even saw a clip that said, "Will you just put the damn clock back up or something?" Because they kept on doing that, or take the clock down, whatever, because they kept on doing that. And I was like, you're physically annoying the wrestlers, where it might even affect a match or affect the spots that are supposed to come. And I can't stress enough how poor some of the fans were, not only in that match, but also once again during the Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley match. They have got to stop. This is not I understand you get freedom of speech, but that's another topic that we're going to discuss later. But it's not necessary, and it's actually just quite annoying and distracting for those of us, like the three of us. I know we are pure wrestling fans, and it just takes away so much.
Now, like I said, they gave them a match that we don't usually get, like we were talking about last week, how, something different. They gave them a match we don't normally get, and then they do that. So then they're like, well, it was so distracting. They were so caught up in counting down. We're not going to do an Iron Man because, they could do that again and it messes up for the match. Bam, we finally get something different, and we mess it up, and they decide not to use it because, oh, we don't want that fan reaction. We don't want them to be chanting like it's a Royal Rumble, and we don't get another Iron Man. Just cheer for the match. You could have cheered and booed, but counting down, I mean, one or two times might have been okay, but to continue to keep doing it, it's
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah, yeah. It was funny like the first 2 or 3 times that I heard him do it. But in a 30-minute Iron match, when we're down to the 8-minute mark and you guys are still doing it, all right. It's like that one guy in class when you were in school who he told one funny joke and everybody laughed and he tried to keep it going and then it just got annoying after that. That's exactly what that was. I mean, other than that, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the negativity. Like I said, there were some good spots on there. Um, First and foremost, my favorite spot of the night, other than uh, not spot, but my favorite match of the night, other than the main event, was of course the Raw Tag Team Championship match. Not just because of the match type, but just because of the B Team, which I called last week and told y'all that they would be the new tag team champions. Um,
Uh, I also agree with you there, sir. Don't get it twisted.
I'm just saying, I called that, but the B
That
team, the
was
B team,
truly a cruel twist of fate.
it was, but I loved it. The thing about it
Oh
is,
God.
I always love to see a come up story for most wrestlers. I don't care, if it was a long build, if it was a slow build, whatever. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the modern day Maharaja. The same,
Maharaja.
the reason why I'm a big fan of the B team, the reason why I was always a huge fan of the Miz. One of the reasons, and I can't even really say with Jack Swagger, so to speak, because Jack Swagger's push kind of started more so in the beginning and then it burned out a little bit. Um, but I mean, that's exactly why I like stars like that, like guys who are, you know, not the fan favorites. They're not a main part of the show. They kind of go, unnoticed, and then you give them a little bit of spotlight and a little bit of push, and they run away with it. Like the B team could legit be the biggest face tag team in the company if pushed in the right direction. And
Oh
these are guys.
God.
These are the good. These guys were just in the Miztourage. They were just in the Misfits. Bo Dallas was just a jobber. Curtis Axel has been a jobber his whole career in
Shouldn't.
WWE, and to see them now be tag team champions, not even be just tag team champions, but they were pretty high on the card as a tag team match. Like that speaks volumes, and I really enjoyed seeing them get that W. It makes me wonder, as I also stated last week, the breakup between Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt is going to be inevitable, and we're going to see them feud again. Hopefully, with Bray Wyatt coming out on top. I got
Definitely
another
agree with
favorite
that.
moment from the pay per view, and this is going to shock a lot of people. You ready?
Oh, here we go.
I actually like the Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin match.
What?
I did. I
Um,
know.
are my
What is
ears
going
hearing me
on?
properly?
I know. I know.
Did
But
he just
yeah,
say
like
he
it was.
liked Baron Corbin?
It was
He just said he
very.
liked the Baron Corbin match.
Did liked and Baron Corbin, was that in the same sentence?
It was in the same sentence.
Wow.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a first.
I told you that I've been trying to lighten up on Baron Corbin a little bit. Um, he's been steadily improving, and he actually fits that class of wrestlers that I was just talking about, who started off a little slow and just started to have that slow build and started to get a push, little bit by little bit. He's not one of my favorites, but the a lot of his spots he executes well. The run out of the ring and run back in the ring. Running clothesline. I like that move. The deep
Very
six
unique.
always looks devastating every time he hits it. I like the haircut on him. I think it actually works better than the when he had the hair. I just do not like the gimmick, the constable gimmick, so to speak. Like, even though it's really opened up his ability to talk a little bit more, he doesn't strike me as somebody who is regal or corporate. Like, he still strikes me as that guy who's the lone wolf, who's a badass, who should be going out there and busting people's heads open. And I think this
I
gimmick
don't.
kind of makes him a little soft.
I do agree with that. I was about to say, I don't like the just the fact that he's like, well, hold on, I don't think Stephanie McMahon's gonna like that, all of that stuff. But I like the look. I like the whole suit and the vest, the haircut and everything. It's working. Like I said, it's just the whole. I like. I mean, Constable. That's a new name for somebody we haven't heard. But just him, or well, Stephanie McMahon doesn't like the Stephanie McMahon. I don't like that whole lap boy thing when you're supposed to be the
Snitch.
lone wolf. Yeah, when you're supposed to be the lone wolf, you can't be working for the corporation, you know. But if he stopped being Stephanie's errand boy, but still have the suit and the vest and coming out talking more, I would like him, but just be tougher when he's doing talking in the back. But at least he's bringing some character out of him.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
for me, on this particular subject, I do want to say this. I'm anxious to see where they're actually going to go from here. So I'm enjoying the build. I'm enjoying the story while it lasts because you know it's not going to last forever. So let's just see exactly how they're going to take the constable because everything is working. Yeah, the whole lapdog kind of seems like a boy toy, maybe. Kind of seems like it reminds her of
Don't
a certain
don't
young
don't don't
somebody.
say don't say stuff like that. And Triple H get him fired. Come on now, don't say that.
No, no, no. That's what I was saying. Like, kind of reminds me of a young Triple H. Started off with the long hair,
Triple
kind of
H,
a
you
kind of a
tried to
Ric
start a
Flair.
feud.
Then had to cut the hair off and
You trying to
became
start
an
a feud with
authoritative
Baron
figure.
Corbin and Triple H,
You damn right I am.
Which would honestly be interesting. I would love to see Triple H put him over.
and
That
he
would
would
kind
bring.
of
He could bring a lot out of him.
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, if my brother out there Wayne is listening right now, I know he's probably snapping like having a heart attack because I never speak this highly of Baron Corbin in any sense. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that match. I thought that it was more competitive than I saw it being on paper. Um, Another one, I mean, I finally was also right about Finn Balor for a change, winning a pay per view match. Um, Shinsuke Nakamura winning the title, like you said, that was a shock. I can't really say I was happy with the match because it was only 6 seconds long. Um, but I'm happy with the outcome of that match. So now that Shinsuke is a champion, what this is going to do to develop his character a little bit on the main roster now.
And with Jeff going on to starting a feud with Orton, I think that is really going to help both of them.
Yes, definitely. So for those who may have missed it on SmackDown Live this week, and at the pay per view, Randy Orton came in and attacked Jeff Hardy after his pay per view loss, via low blow. He came out there and after he was already low blown and King Sasha stomped Jeff Hardy in his little Neros, and walked off. and it looked like it could be the sign of a heel Randy Orton, but we didn't know what heel Randy Orton we were going to get. So fast forward 2 nights later, SmackDown Live, main event, Shinsuke Nakamura rematch versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy hits the Swanton Bomb, boom. We're thinking he's going to get the title back. Orton comes out there and attacks Jeff Hardy, disqualification. And then he proceeds to do one of the nastiest things that I've ever seen a heel do on WWE television in this generation. He sticks his finger in Jeff Hardy's widened earlobe and proceeds to pull back as if he's gonna rip it off. And it just looks like any second, like you're pulling that a little hard, like that could really pop. Like it was disgusting to look at. Ugh. Like did anybody else see that happen? Was that only me?
No, I saw that, and
Ugh.
yeah, that was hard to watch. That
I
was
saw it as it was happening, and I was drinking, and I almost lost every bit of buzz that I had, and not in a good way because of that.
I was
That
sitting there just thinking, oh my God, it's gonna pop, it's gonna pop. Oh, this is gonna be so nasty if it pops.
Ugh. It was just I don't even have many words to describe it. It just looked horrible. Like he
That
just
was vintage Orton.
ugh. Absolutely. That if there was any moment that Michael Cole needed to use the words vintage, that was definitely the moment. Even though Michael Cole, I don't think he's on SmackDown anymore, but that was definitely vintage Orton. And then to polish it all off with the vintage DDT off of the table, like it seems like Randy Orton when he got his hair transplant, he went back into his mind frame back from 2009 almost. Like Randy Orton has reset the clock back, and if he goes back to the Legend Killer gimmick, or just even doing some of the things that he did in that sense, he's going to be one of the top heels in the company once again.
I think that was. It seemed like he was enjoying what he was doing so much more than everything he's been doing for a while. When he's been in this face, good guy, get the crowd into it. Come on, clap for me, all that stuff.
Yeah, out
This
of
seemed
nowhere, that Viperville piece of
this
crap.
seems yeah, this seems like he was, I mean, just the faces he was making. He was like, finally, this is what I've been wanting to do. This is really me. And he felt like he had that passion again.
the voices were coming back to him. That's all it was.
Oh, the
The voices had
voices.
left. The voices are back now.
Oh my goodness, this is what it really started to make me think. Like a heel Randy Orton is like 100 times better than the face or the neutral Randy Orton that they've been giving us for the past couple of years. And now that made me excited to see not only Randy Orton in this feud, but now it's like, okay, what other faces can he go against? Like this is viable now for me to say, oh, Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. I can't wait for that because a heel Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, Randy Orton to go out there and do some things that would piss people off.
And that's what they've been waiting on. We had been saying that when is Orton going to fight AJ? Now that this Orton is back, now it's time. I can't wait to see, like you said, who he's going to fight, what he's going to do. It had gotten to a point where every time Orton came out, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he RKO'd somebody, yay. Nobody was really interested in him. I swear, I don't think we've ever even talked about him, that much. Just he just wasn't important anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
now we're finally seeing something. You seeing something besides him just RKOing somebody. Now you get something. Oh my God! Did you see what he did to his ear? That's like the most vicious thing I've ever seen. That's what we used to see when he, handcuffed Triple H and kissed Stephanie in front of him. That's the kind of stuff we're used to from Randy
When he
Orton.
when he pulled John Cena's dad out of the crowd on the floor and he
Woo,
punted him and
it's
busted
good.
his dad open like a sack of potatoes. That was the heel Randy Orton that they need right now. As a matter of fact, I just get goosebumps thinking like, oh my god, a heel Randy Orton means potentially we could see the return of the punt kick.
Yeah, it
Oh
it
my
is.
goodness.
One of
I'll
the
just
most devastating moves I had ever seen. And remember, he already punted him once and took him out for a long time.
Hmm.
So that is a long time coming because am I incorrect to say that Randy Orton did punt Jeff Hardy
He had
twice
to.
around? Or was that Matt Hardy that he punted?
He probably punted both. He
Yeah, I was
had
gonna
to
say
have punted somebody.
there's a few guys that he punted. He'll probably punt Jeff Hardy back into the impact zone. Um, after this whole
Or global or TNA or whatever it's called today.
absolutely the direct auto wrestling, one of those two. But yeah, I mean, Randy Orton as a heel is so much more interesting. He's even so much more fun to talk about, like you said, as a
Yes.
heel than he was. I don't think that I've spent 5 to 10 minutes talking about Randy Orton in a personal conversation or in a podcast, and I can't even remember. Um,
Yeah.
so
But
I
like
mean,
I said, I, I know a lot of times I forgot he was on the show before he got hurt. It just all of a sudden his music hit. I'm like, oh, I forgot he's still there. He had just became so irrelevant that he wasn't even important. He comes out and you're like, oh yeah, he's there too. Yeah, good. Randy Orton's there.
yeah, yeah, and it reminds me, there's one guy who I was talking about that reminds me of Randy Orton a lot, just because of what the dastardly things that he's been doing as a heel, and he's not on the main roster, and it just like it rekindled that whole thought process of like, oh my goodness, like this guy that's in NXT right now could be Orton's protege. Orton could bring him up, take him under his wing. He could be part of the new quote unquote legacy, so to speak.
Are you talking about Tommaso Ciampa?
The devil himself.
You're the devil.
The devil. The devil himself, Tommaso Ciampa. Some of the dastardly things he does reminds me a lot of that killer instinct that Orton used to have back in the ages before he was the Viper, like you said, when he was hearing the voices, or when he was the Legend Killer and he slid off of a car and RKO'd Hulk Hogan. He might have
In
RKO'd
front of
Hulk Hogan out of the WWE at that point in time. Maybe this is the Randy Orton that we need now that Hulk Hogan
now
has
that he's
returned.
back. Oh shoot. He's gonna come out. You know what? You are a legend.
But I'm gonna definitely give a lot of credit to, like I said, that match with Finn Balor and Baron Corbin. A lot of credit to the new heel turn for Randy Orton. If I had one other thing to pick from the night, and then we'll move on to the next topic. AJ Styles versus Rusev. Now, a lot of people are not going to be happy with the outcome of that match, just because everybody has been sack riding Rusev for a couple of months, which is nothing wrong with that. Rusev Day is very over. I like Rusev. I've always liked Rusev even before the Rusev Day chants started, before that whole gimmick. Uh, but I mean, it's just like all of us said last week. Um, this was a match that WWE gave you because this is what we've been asking for since WrestleMania. Um, Rusev didn't disappoint. There was a lot of matches that were close to the point where I'm thinking, oh, hell, they might let Rusev get this thing. Like when he locked in the Accolade and he had it in for a little minute. And I'm like, okay, is AJ Styles going to tap? It was a close call on that one. But I'm a lot of people not going to be happy with what I'm going to say with this one either. I'm glad that Rusev didn't win. Just because we got to let Rusev get rid of this whole English baggage before we can really see him take off as a single star.
And that's exactly the best way to say it. Baggage. Useless. Garbage. Trash. Wait. Yes, that I am glad to see that he did kind of ruin things for Rusev just because I know, like, okay, is this the beginning of the end? If this is the end, let him go in peace. If this is the end, let him go in pieces, actually.
And like you said, there's no way that Rusev can win the title and have him still walking around with him. You can't. I mean, what kind of champion has a guy come out and sing in Rusev Day? You know, it's going to be good for a while, but he needs to get serious. And anytime you can get rid of Aiden English would be a great time. But as long as what I said, as long as Rusev had a great match and reminded people how good he is, it doesn't mean that we can't see him fight him again or fight another champion or just be more in the main event
Picture.
caliber matches. Yes.
You know,
Instead of jobbing the people all the time, it just raises his stock. Like, oh yeah, Rusev is good. Let's start putting him in some better matches. Let's put him in some better feuds. Let him fight some more people
But
and
don't let
have.
him John Cena in a flag match again. Please, God, no.
Oh God, no. Let it, but just let him show what he can really do. What how good he is. I mean, he's in better shape than he was when he was dominating everybody. Now we know that he has more character. He can talk more than what we thought. So now just let him go by himself and show what he can do. I mean, if you want to bring Lana with him, that's fine. But let him show what he can do. And then next time he may fight AJ or whoever the champ is. This time he may win.
hmm it's like he could either go on to be a bigger monster heel, or you can get Rusev as a face, and you could have a lot of hard hitting matches with some of the heels that they have, such as Rusev versus Samoa Joe in an actual feud with Rusev as a
Woo,
face.
woo.
It could be very huge. It doesn't even have to be for a title. It can just be a feud
It can
between
just
two
be
major hitters.
just for our enjoyment. Oh my God.
Exactly. Like a lot of people want to see matches and want to see people get title matches, and they think that that's going to solidify, their favorite, guy. And it's not even about title matches. Like in the history of WWE, titles have never made the wrestler ever. The wrestler
Ask Dolph
always
Ziggler,
made the
Jack
title.
Swagger.
Yeah, Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger, Kofi Kingston is a multi-time mid-card champion, and it still hasn't done anything to make him look more of a legitimate contender.
The Miz.
The Miz, even the Miz is now what in second place all time now, for the most intercontinental title championships.
That is
Not
correct.
only that, not only that, I'm talking about when he won the world title, main event at WrestleMania, and then look what happened.
Mm-hmm. Fall from grace, and it took him a long time to get back up to that caliber, so to speak. So I mean, you don't want to take somebody that's new and throw the title on them just like that, because what happens is eventually they're going to have to lose that title, and then what happens when they lose the title? The stock goes down just as quickly as it went up. And at that point in time, then they have to learn to be able to build and work without having a championship. Like I don't think
Because
people understand.
what happens when, like with Rusev, what happens if this is just a fad? He wins the title and then people stop chanting Rusev Day all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? If you don't have a basis of, oh man, he does great matches. We just like saying Rusev Day. Now he's the champion, but now nobody wants to see him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All sizzle, no substance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But other than that, I don't think I ever gave my recap of the pay per view as far as what I would rate. I would say personally, I gave the pay per view an 8 out of 10, which is probably the highest that I've given a pay per view since I've been doing the podcast. Like I said, it's just a lot of the outcomes, a lot of the match quality, the fact that the mid card title was the main event. Um, Even the Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns match was a decent match that people didn't want to pay attention to just because of the guys who were in it. But both of those guys went out there and actually went for, you know, a good 10, 15 minutes of a hard hitting match. And Bobby Lashley catching him with the spear out of his own setup was just a great finish to that match. Like you could even hear the fans who were trying to ignore the match even go, "Oh!" after he hit it. Like that was that was a great match as well. Like I said, just when I go up and down the card, there wasn't anything that was really bad in my opinion. Probably the worst match of the night would have been the
Yes, I already know.
Extreme Rules match for me. Um, with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax was probably the worst match of the card on me.
Are
Other
you
than
saying
that,
that was worse than
the other women's match,
Asuka?
yeah, both of the women's matches were probably the worst of the card, and I don't want to try to squat over women, just because I know that we're in the whole Diva Revolution or Women's Revolution right now.
I had nothing to do with the women. It had just only thing to do with Ellsworth being in it.
I
That's
mean,
what
it
made
was
me
the
crash.
match too. Any shark cage match is shit.
That was hilarious though when he got hung up and she went up there and started hitting him like a damn pinata. Come on now,
Eh,
that was hilarious.
eh. But
If she
it's
would have
like
knocked him out,
I saw Carmella come in and push her in my head into the cage like 3 minutes before it happened. Like I'm like, all right, she's spending a lot of time focusing on Ellsworth, and Carmella is just
yeah.
resting outside the ring right now. She's about to come in the ring and do something, and this match is going to be over.
But
And
my whole thing is you suspend the short cage over the ring where they why don't you check if you're supposed to be keeping him from the match, then why don't you check him to make sure that they don't have anything? I mean, 2 seconds into the match, he's throwing stuff in the ring. I'm like, then what was the point of the shark cage? He could have still been standing beside the ring. He's doing the exact same thing. He's
It was too
actually
damn hot for that big ass jacket, so you knew he was hiding shit in the first damn place. Come on now, we're in
they should
July.
they should at least if they're gonna put him in the shark cage like it used to be, like they need to put him to the side, or he should be higher up, or they should check him, show it that like they checking him so that you know that he's not gonna be able to do anything. They just made it like, oh, he can just come in there with anything, and he's just gonna just drop stuff in the ring. Wow, that's he could have did that standing beside the ring. What was the what was we brought the cage here for you to do the same thing you could already do.
It just gave us a great spot for Corey Graves to show off his comedic relief because that dude had me cracking up this entire time. Corey Graves should be the next comedian next to Dolph Ziggler. I mean, come on, that was hilarious.
absolutely. But I mean, that was definitely my thoughts on the pay per view. Like I said, better pay per view than I gave it credit to be. I thought it was going to end up being a 6. And to get an 8 out of me was definitely something that the pay per view definitely impressed me on that. Moving right along to our next topic of the night, one of the biggest stories in WWE right now, outside of Extreme Rules this week that's occurred, the immortal Hulk Hogan, living up to the immortal moniker, has been reinstated into the WWE.
What you gonna do?
We talked about this on a podcast a few shows ago, about the potential hiring of Hulk Hogan. We had mixed feelings between the three of us at the time. I think that, now that it's come into fruition, it's definitely hitting a lot of black superstars. And you're seeing a lot of the guys that WWE currently has employed that are of African American descent speaking their opinions. We've heard the New Day come out and speak. Titus O'Neil penned an open letter, an open address to Hogan's apology. We've even heard Booker T respond. Booker T responded. We also heard some sentiments that Mark Henry actually was accepting with Hulk Hogan with open arms. So they say it's about 50-50 with a lot of the black superstars that are in the company now. So as we are all African American on this show, imagine yourself being in the WWE locker room right now and knowing what Hulk Hogan said that caused him to be wiped from history and suspended in the first place. Do you think that? What is your opinion of him being back? Are you happy with Hogan being back, or how do you feel about Hogan being back?
Well, let me go ahead and get mine out the way because I know Mr. VIP has a lot more to say on this than I do. So I wanted to go ahead and jump the gun and be the first one to comment on this one. But for me, I've got one word for it: indifferent. It doesn't matter what you say behind closed doors or in the privacy of your own home is your own business. What is said in the shadows usually gets brought to the light anyway. You just got to be worried of that. However, I do not agree with the guy actually recording that because it's a violation of his privacy, but I'm not happy with what he said still. So I must say that I am indifferent on the situation.
But
But
wasn't Hulk Hogan smashing his wife when he recorded it?
He was.
So I feel like
um,
that makes it somewhat of his business, just a little
He
bit.
he let him do it though. He knew he was doing it. He was
Yeah,
talking to him. He was like, "You want to hit my wife?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Okay,
and he
go
probably
ahead."
thought he was gonna make some money off of a sex tape, and then he got a
Of course,
racist
it's Hulk
quote out of
Hogan.
it.
Yeah.
well, like I said, and I'll say it again, indifferent. You do things, you have to deal with the consequences. Should you be erased from history? Absolutely not. Um, just take this as a learning moment and move forward.
Mm.
Mr. VIP, I
Oh,
feel like you got something on your heart.
oh, I do, I do. Well, let me tell you something, brother. First and foremost, I never thought that he should have been taken out of the Hall of Fame. Could have been fired. That was fine, but taking him out of the Hall of Fame, you shouldn't have done it. I mean, there's no way to take his everything he's done, period, out of the business. What he said, like Lady Great One said, he said something at home or at somebody's home private. He didn't say it out in public. If any one of us was taped when we're at home, a lot of us say a lot of shit that may not be seen as appropriate. We may say racial terms. We may say somebody's fat, somebody's ugly, whatever. It doesn't mean we hate people or we are racist. It's just you're just talking junk. He was talking junk while he was drunk, and he said some
He was
stuff.
talking smack, old talking smack.
He was talking smack. He was talking about somebody, dating his daughter that he didn't like. Is I have heard my family, you know, say something about somebody that's black and said the same thing, and like that is lazy, that is whatever. Why is she dating him? Don't bring that around. And it's just you saying something because you're mad at that person, and it's just a derogatory name. It doesn't mean you hate all of them. I don't think he's racist. I mean, it was inappropriate that he said the word, but there's a lot of other people to say it. If he had have came out on TV, cutting a promo, and would have said it, then I'm like, okay, you said it in public. You said it where you knew people was gonna hear it.
But Booker T said it, brother.
Booker T said that, and that is another reason why it shouldn't. I mean, just because he's black, he gets a pass to say it. And when he was talking about Hogan, so Hogan was just retaliating. He called him one. But just because he's black, he's able to say it, and because he's white, he can't say it. It's like I said, he paid the price. He's out of the WF for 3 years. A lot of people commit crimes, go to jail for less time than he's had for saying that word. He was out for 3 years. At some point, you got to be like, okay, you got to let him back. You can't have the history of this company or the history of wrestling without his name being mentioned. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like, he paid his dues, he's coming back trying to apologize. Some people are gonna be like, okay, I don't believe him. Some people are gonna believe him. It's just how you feel. Now, the only thing as fans, I think, okay, well, I only know Hulk Hogan. I don't know Terry Bollea. I know Hogan. So the character is what we know. So as the character Hulk Hogan, yes, he should be back. For wrestlers that know him in the back, if they know him personally, like Booker T has known him for years, he may feel a different way because he may be like, well, I thought we were friends, we colleagues and everything. And to hear you say that, that might affect him a little differently because he may know him personally more than we do.
And
But
I got an interesting comment about that once you're done.
well, go on and say your comment.
Oh no, go ahead, finish.
But like I said, I just think that he's paid the price. He's suffered. People, no matter what, everybody's gonna remember him saying it. So it's still gonna be like, I don't know, But there's been a lot of African Americans that have came to his aid and be like, no, he's not that way. A lot of people were like, he's not really that way. It was a mistake. He shouldn't have said it, but he's not that way. You know, and like I said, sometimes we say stuff we didn't mean. You're drunk, you say something. You're pissed off, you say something. You know, you married and y'all get in a fight. You may say something you shouldn't have said, and she's livid. And you're like, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I would just, people do stuff that they didn't mean. And he paid the price for it. You got to say, okay, let him back, you know, let him at least try to make amends, come out and apologize. I told Lady Great One that what he should do, he did the apology on in the back. What he should do is a sit down interview as Terry Bollea and a sit down interview and talk about what happened, his feelings about it, how he's sorry, how he did, and just have an actual interview and giving his thoughts before he comes out on TV as Hulk Hogan. He just needs to sit down, just him in an interview, or him and Renee or whoever, and just sit down and say, what his thoughts are, what he's thinking, and apologize to his fans of all races for what he did. And, just say, I'm just trying to move forward. Please forgive me. Give me a chance to make amends for what I did. And
He ain't
then
Papa John.
say it again.
He ain't Papa John.
Yeah. And then try to, move forward. You know, but I think he should be back. I want him back in the game.
Selfish. Selfish. Very selfish. All of that because you want him back in WWE 2K.
You can't have the video game without having Hulk Hogan in it.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you something, brother. When we talked about this comment and about this potentially happening a few shows ago, I originally said, well, it's been long enough, let him back in. You can't have wrestling history without Hulk Hogan, and it's true. Hulk Hogan is American wrestling. Of course, there are a lot of other major stars out there other than Hulk. There's Flairs. You got your Dusty Rhodes. You got your guys who are icons. You got your Undertakers. You got your Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
You got your Macho Mans.
Ooh, yeah.
But the thing about it is the only negative thing that I have to say about this, and I'm gonna make it as PG as possible because there's a phrase that I like to say is own your ish. But own your stuff. Like whatever you say, like you said, we all say stuff behind closed doors that we all do stuff behind closed doors that if it came out into the public eye, we would be judged and stoned in the court of public opinion. Like you said, we got family members who might say something racially charged, and it's like to us that's just another day. But if you're aunt or uncle or mom or grandmom or whatever says something racially charged and it goes viral, it goes out there, I mean, at the end of the day, whether you said it in private or not, you're still gonna own up to it. And that's my thing. Like, a lot of the whole apology that I'm hearing or that I heard that went on the back, like we didn't, of course we didn't physically see, hear or see it, but one of the key things that stuck out was people saying that one of the things Hogan said was he was sad that he was recorded or somebody that was recording. He's sorry that it was on tape. And that's one of the things where it's like, okay, maybe you said something that was out of your personal feelings in the privacy, of your own moment, but don't apologize for getting caught, so to speak. And I actually had this argument with something very personal with a personal friend of mine, recently. Like, don't argue about something with someone and apologize for getting caught or, getting caught in the moment, or don't apologize for my feelings, so to speak. Apologize about what you said. I mean, it's a PR move. Even if you don't mean it, apologize for what you said. Advise people that it's not something that they should say in the future. Say that you won't say it again. Show some action behind it. But don't say stuff like, I'm sorry I got recorded while saying like that. That's the thing that leaves a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, so to speak. Do I think Hulk Hogan or Terry Bollea is racist, quote unquote? No, I don't think that he's racist. I think that he's a selfish idiot at times. Um, and everybody who's worked with him in the wrestling business most of the time has the same sentiments for him. I blame him for being one of the reasons that Impact took a nosedive. Uh, but one thing that I don't think he is racist. As for personally how I feel about him being back, I mean, as long as he's not in an on TV role, I don't want you to push Hulk Hogan in my face now that all has been forgiven. It's gonna take some time to heal from that whole situation because like you said, as an African American, when you hear someone of another race use that word and use it in a derogatory term, it does strike a nerve a little bit, so to speak. It does hurt you to your core a little bit. I just imagine like this being one of our friends who would be Caucasian who has never said the word around us before, and then we catch them on tape and they're using the N word to describe, somebody that we know or one of us, how we would feel, so to speak, in that situation. Um, it's easy to say that all should be forgiven, but it's not easy to actually forgive in that situation. Even with the guys that are in the back, you mentioned Booker T before. Booker T is actually one of the people that is advocating for Hogan, so to speak. There's an article out there. Booker T said in his response, it's been a while. He served his time. At this point in time, everything should be forgotten. You know, um, Titus O'Neil made a post that he's a believer that people should have second and even third chances. But he also stated the things that he wasn't happy about with the whole apology. The New Day has come out saying that they are not gonna. They said everything short of saying that they don't want to associate with Hulk Hogan, so to speak. And it just goes to show you, like you said, man, it's just everybody doesn't heal the same way and everybody doesn't forgive the same way.
And like you said, I think a lot of them they want to see action. You know,
Mhm.
uh, 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 him just coming. I mean, is basically, we'll bring you back. You got to make an apology. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like you and your sister getting in a fight, and then your parents like go apologize, and you like, you're made to apologize, whether you mean it or not. You may really be sorry, but you don't want somebody to tell you to apologize to them. You're like, I'm sorry. Say it like you mean it. I'm sorry. So like it's just gonna take time. But like you said, I think he should be back and just, you know, let's see what happens from now.
Mhm.
And
But
like I said, he there's no way he can take it back,
yeah.
and there's no way we can go back in time and get him from saying it. So it's time to move forward, and you know, from now you don't say it and show us that you're not that way. Prove to everybody in the back and everybody out here that that's not who you are.
Hmm. See now,
Progress is a slow process, so
yeah, I mean, now that it's happened though, there are a couple of things that I want to see happen. First and foremost, the fact that he said it and he got caught saying it on video camera in the middle of a sex tape, and he gets a 3 year suspension, and all of a sudden he's back in the Hall of Fame, and all he had to do was make an apology. China, on the other hand, made sex tapes, and that was the reason why she was never put in the Hall of Fame. Um, One can easily say the impact that Hulk Hogan had on wrestling as a whole, China had on women's wrestling, because China was something that we had never seen before. She was an icon. She was a phenomenon. The ninth wonder of the world, if you will. But put her in the Hall of Fame if we're going to forgive Hulk Hogan. You know.
I I agree with what you're saying. I know one is, the sex tapes, the porn, all of that. Um, I don't think it may not be just the sex tape because, she started doing porn after that. I mean, X Pac did come back and he was in that tape with her,
Exactly.
but he started
Exactly.
doing the porn. But I think what happened also is it wasn't just that, but I think the drugs. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she really wasn't in a good place, and we've seen that X Pac is now finally starting to get his life together. And I think that not just the porn thing, but just the fact that she was doing the drugs and she wasn't healthy. I mean, in truth, that's really the reason we didn't get to see uh, Jake the Snake or Razor Ramon in the Hall of Fame was only because of the drugs and that they weren't in a good place and they didn't want to bring them to try to celebrate them and don't know what kind of condition they were going to come in. So
But now
when
they are.
yeah, but now they are, thanks to DDP, they were finally in a good state of mind and body that where we can celebrate them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I would have hoped that China would have gotten uh, better and would have been able to put in the Hall of Fame. And it could be also some hurt feelings with her and Triple H and Stephanie, not just Triple H and Stephanie's side, but her side, just being mad at what happened with them, and that could also be, a reason. But definitely, she deserves to be in it. You know, I hope they still will put her in. I hate that it's after she's died, but she does deserve that respect to be put in it.
Mm-hmm. The only
And
thing
like you said, go on.
I was just gonna say, the only thing that I don't agree with about the whole drugs and alcohol thing is that we see it from a man's standpoint from countless wrestlers, way more wrestlers than the first two that you just named that were actually inducted into the Hall of Fame. Pretty much it's just seen as, guys being guys, wrestlers being wrestlers. Hell, you can go back on YouTube now and look at, you know, backstage footage of guys in WCW being videotaped, and you see Animal. I mean, not Animal. You see Hawk doing a line of coke in the back.
But
Nobody.
yeah, I'm not saying just the guys thing because Legion of Doom aren't in the Hall of Fame either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying because it's the girls or guys, but I'm saying like I said, when Scott Hall and Jake the Snake were into it bad, getting arrested all the time, on drugs all the time, they didn't bring them to the Hall of Fame
Mm-hmm.
because they knew you don't, like you said, you don't know what kind of condition they are. She hadn't she hadn't fully or at least recovered for a long enough time to where okay, she's doing better, she's getting healthy. We see her getting healthy, and especially with them being a public company. Yeah, I know, guys and girls do drugs or whatever, but it was just the fact, like I said, when Hall and Jake the Snake were doing all this stuff, you never saw Razor Ramon, Scott Hall on TV. You never seen him. You saw Kevin Nash, but you didn't see Razor. You didn't see him. Now they got a video of him on the network. You see him showing up at the Performance Center. You didn't see none of that when he was really going through his stuff and all. I mean, he come back, he got a DVD. None of that happened while he was going through the 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 drugs and all the stuff and coming up to shows drunk and out of his mind. And the same thing with Jake. When they finally started seeing a recovery and saying, okay, maybe he's finally making steps to get better, then they finally put him in, man or woman. So I think that was like China hadn't, not just the porn, taking the porn out of it. I think the drugs, they weren't sure, how is her mindset to be able to come out, because she was still, you got to remember, she was still, posting stuff, acting very strange right before she died. She was, when X-Pac was on some interview on a radio station or something, she called in and was just going off. So she still, and X-Pac was talking normal. He was like, yeah, I did a lot of bad stuff, blah, blah, blah. But we were both in a bad place in our lives. I don't think she had gotten out of that bad place. And, they don't want to, especially with a public company, they don't want to bring her out to where the world sees her come up to the podium and she's drunk or she's, you know, on something or whatever, and they're trying to celebrate this woman. But like I said, I think a lot of people, especially now, a lot of people that are on drugs really badly, they don't celebrate them because they don't want that image, And like I said, now, I mean, like with Mr. Perfect or something, yeah, he died of it, but you know, you can't go on the internet and see a lot of stuff that he had done.
Mm-hmm.
But with China, we saw stuff. We saw her in that reality show. We saw the porn. We saw the porn the sex tape, and then the porn she was doing, and we seen like just her, seeing pictures of her, and you like she just didn't look healthy. And I don't think they would want to try to bring her in with her still not in her right mind to try to come up there and try to celebrate her, and then something happens or she messes up right after that.
So, Lady Great One, what do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was falling asleep over here listening to the rambling on and on. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Put her in. Don't put her in. It's not like she did anything at all that was actually unimportant. And if you couldn't tell, there's a ton of sarcasm in my voice. So, yes. But still, I agree with what you're saying about they're unsure about her and what state of mind that she was in. Because she was doing a lot of drunken ramblings, and it kind of sounds like me when I'm on this podcast most of the time. But just rambling on and on and on without a clear direction of what to see. Yeah, I can't even get the words out of my mouth. But but should she go in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Maybe give it a couple more years. Maybe by 2020 we can see her going into the Hall of Fame. I said maybe. You got to let some time pass. So maybe, like I said, maybe by 2020, maybe not. But she will go in there eventually. But we just got to kind of let some of these things die down first. And speaking of things like needing to die down, there's another person on the opposite end of the spectrum that I kind of wanted to jump to, just because of the fact that if we were just talking about Hulk Hogan making one slur in the privacy of his own home where he didn't even know that he was being recorded,
brother,
to the ultimate piece of crap who did it publicly many times.
Very unstable.
Even has, I'm sorry?
I said very unstable person.
Very.
Yes. Even has an award that we honor people with. Yearly.
Very.
So, if anything, if anybody should have been removed from the Hall of Fame,
Truly should
it
have
should have been
put in it.
It should have been Ultimate Warrior.
Hell, we should
So
never we should never took the name of the fabulous Moolah Royal Rumble off. If we're
Yeah.
gonna forgive Hulk Hogan, right?
yeah,
Moolah's
we
dead. That stuff we don't know anything about. It's hearsay.
Yeah.
exactly,
But we
exactly. But
know,
there's video
but we
footage
know,
of
yeah.
what Ultimate Warrior did.
We definitely know for sure what he said, what he made videos of. We know for 100% that it was him who said some of the racist and some of the homophobic stuff that he said, and stuff about New Orleans and all this stuff. I mean, it's not, you can find exactly what he said. And like you said, if Hogan can get away with saying that one word, Warrior said a lot worse, and still want to celebrate him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So I personally don't think that any of them, with the exception of one person who we've yet to talk about, has done anything worse than what the Ultimate Warrior did.
Mm-hmm.
videotape
Yeah.
yourself doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, China, yeah, she videotaped doing porn, but
I mean, who doesn't
question.
watch porn?
Say what?
Yeah.
I said, who doesn't watch porn?
I was gonna
But
say,
that,
who doesn't have sex?
Who doesn't
Who
use the
that?
N word while they're having sex? I'm sorry, that's just me. I apologize. I apologize. This is a family show. Let's strike that from the records. Let's strike that from the records.
Look, we hope Hulk Hogan don't.
I mean, if he does, if she's into it, if he gets the job done, he gets the job done.
But if he gets videotaped, you know what happens.
But with me, it's like you said, it's a lot of them that we can go tit for tat with a lot of different people. However, there's one topic that I want to bring up because in this generation, because
Ooh.
Hulk Hogan's being reinstated, this
Don't
question's
go
gonna
there.
pop up soon. So
Don't
because
go
we're
there.
on marking out with friends and we like to mark out anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this whole conversation up anyway.
You can't
I
say
was
it.
leading into that segue for you, sir.
So now that Hulk Hogan has been forgiven, do you think that opens up the door for possibly Chris Benoit being forgiven for what he did? And would you
Absolutely
forgive him?
not. Absolutely not. There's no way that would be forgiven. It can't. I mean, we loved him as a wrestler, but there's no way you can forgive him for killing his kid. I mean, some people. I mean, yes, some people may say, okay, your wife, but your kid. It's hard to phantom you as a parent. As mad as they make me sometimes, I could not phantom killing them. It's just, I don't know how. I mean, there's no possible way they could spin it to where you could you could go up there and try to say something positive when everybody's sitting there saying he killed his son, he killed his wife.
But
You
he's
you can't.
dead now. He killed
He's
himself. He
he's dead, but there's 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 no way he's dead and his son is dead because of him. Now, the only way that he could be forgiven is if it comes out that he didn't do it, like say he was framed somehow, because I've heard that on some things that, somebody else did it and they framed him. If it came out today that he was framed and that Chris Benoit didn't do it, then he should 100% be put in it. But other than that, I know that at first they said it was steroids because he's a wrestler and that's the first thing they say. But then they
said it was
say
concussion.
now they say it was brain damage. I understand that. And I hope the only kind of way that it makes any more sense that he wasn't in his right mind is if it was because of brain damage, that he wasn't thinking clearly, you know, and that's why he did it. That would be like, okay, he wasn't thinking clearly. He wasn't able to understand what he was doing. I can say, okay, but there's still no way to really, even if that's the case, there's still no way to really say, okay, I know he was brain damaged, but he still killed his kid.
Mm-hmm.
Really and truly, we can't. There's no way to celebrate him without remembering how it ended. Other people
There,
have done a lot. Go on.
I was gonna say there is no PR firm in the world that can spin that turd
Yeah,
into gold. I'm
yeah.
sorry. There's no
I mean,
way around it. You cannot polish it because at the end of the day, it's still shit.
yeah. I love Chris Benoit. I loved him as a wrestler. I loved him. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. Loved to play with him in the game. Loved to see his matches. Couldn't wait to see him. Would have loved to seen some of the matches he would have had with the people that are there today. But the way his life ended, and the way his wife's life ended, and the way his son's life ended, we can't, in good conscience, say let's put him in the Hall of Fame. Let's celebrate. You can't say let's celebrate the wrestler and forget what the man did.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, as it is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I said, the only reason I'm bringing this topic up is because the internet is gonna. This is gonna be out there. I'm surprised it's not already out there in some forums. You're gonna get
Well, you
your,
remember, I've seen a bunch of people say it before the Hogan thing. Just saying he should be in the Hall of Fame, and you've been seeing that a lot. But I mean, really and truly, there's no way you could actually do that.
mm-hmm.
If the only way they could do it is if they had a private ceremony without putting it on TV and the world didn't know about it, and they were like, okay, we're gonna put him in the Hall of Fame, but we're not gonna make it public.
Mm-hmm.
And they put him in, but the world doesn't know it, and the world can't look on the internet and see his name on there. That's the only way it would make any sense.
Yeah, man. I like I said, it's gonna be out there. People are gonna put it out there, just like when the whole Fabulous Moolah, you know, invitational happened, and everybody wanted to talk about that, and everybody was what the first thing that people wanted to say. Well, if we're going to honor her, why not honor Chris Benoit? And it's like it's not even close to the same spectrum of
Yeah.
what Fabulous Moolah did and what we thought she did compared to what we know Chris Benoit did. And
What we've
you
heard
got those
she's done.
people who love to bring him up in every situation. Chris Benoit, this, that. And like you said, he was a favorite of mine. I think he was a favorite of a lot of people. I think that he made a big impact on a lot of the current wrestlers that you see. You see everybody
Yes.
using the crossface now, in a match.
Yeah.
Even guys
He
that
was
you
one of
never
my
would have
favorites
thought
too.
used it before. We see them use it in a match. But my thing is just it's unforgivable. We can say what we want about his brain, what state it was in after he passed away. I wouldn't be surprised that there are a lot of wrestlers that are active now that have been wrestling as long as he has. They would probably show the same significant, CTE or
Mick
concussed brain
Foley.
damage. There's a lot
Ask
of
Mick,
people who will show the same damage in their brain.
ask Mick Foley.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact of the matter is, when he was alive, he had just wrestled the night before.
I think so.
He had just wrestled the night before. He was
Or
heading
that
towards
Friday.
a major pay per view, and all of a sudden this happens. So I don't think that his brain just automatically just switched like that, and all of a sudden, he's in a mental state. There has to be something else that goes along with that. Either it was his personality, either it's something that he took, or like you said, it could be the theory out there that somebody may have set him up. I don't care what it is until we find out for sure that he didn't do it. I don't like to even see him being brought up. Like the fact that people would bring it up as a joke and would say, Vince is scared of Benoit and Vince is trying to make us forget about Benoit. You damn right.
Yeah.
If I was Vince McMahon, I would do the exact same thing. If you
if
ask me
I
a
had a
hundred times, I'll say the same thing.
if I had a company, forget if I had a company. If some if someone in my family, okay, just imagine something like that with one of your friends. Your homie, y'all been friends forever, and they did something like that. You're not going to want to talk about them anymore. You don't want to acknowledge. You don't want to tell anybody. Oh yeah, they were. I remember when we used to do all these fun things, and they're like, well, didn't they kill their kid? And yeah, but we used to have good times, but they're a murderer, a double murderer. It's just you can't talk about that something like that. It's unforgivable. There's a everything else you can forgive. Murdering somebody, it, it's not just on purpose. Now, if you accidentally did it, you were protecting yourself, like what happened with Scott Hall. If you protecting yourself, something like that, yeah, he didn't go out there to kill him himself. He was protecting himself. The other person brought the gun. They shot, were trying to shoot him. He was just trying to survive. But there's no way to explain. Well, he went in there and he suffocated his kid. If he would have done it by accident, but he suffocated, that means he was sitting there holding a pillow on his son. How long does it take? And you're just sitting there holding it, killing your own kid. There's
And
no,
excuse me, I'm sorry, don't mean to cut you off real quick, but wasn't his son also mentally handicapped?
yes,
That
yes,
makes
he
it
was.
that much worse.
Yeah. So, and the fact is, he has another son, and his other son looks very much like him. I don't even think that there's any way you could even bring him out with him looking that much like his dad. I mean, it's just you don't even want to bring anybody his son out. You can't say he's the son of. You don't want to say that. You could change his name, but his face, unless you put him under a mask and he wrestles his entire career under a mask and nobody knows who he is, that's the only way that he would be able to come out. It's a terrible thing that happened with him, but it's unforgivable.
Lady Great One, what do you got to say about
Um, no, no way, no how. I do apologize. I respect him as a wrestler. However, that's about as far as it goes. The other stuff, it's ultimately unforgivable. He could never be put in the Hall of Fame because it's just too much. And considering the fact that his son was mentally ill, that he murdered, what as a parent would make somebody do something so cruel? That child didn't ask to be here, but you made that child arrive. That child didn't ask to be here. And I don't want to get into this subject because I am a mom. I've got two wonderful children, but that child didn't ask to be here. So how could you even possibly remotely think of honoring somebody who did something like that to their own flesh and blood? I can't.
The
absolutely?
only thing the only thing I want to say is to the fans, the least that you're getting is you can see him on the network. That is one thing that I thought they wouldn't do. They're at least showing his matches. They may not say anything about him in the match, but they're at least showing that. That's as much as you're going to get. That book that they had, the name every wrestler that had ever been in the company, he had like a page and a half. It, I mean, for them to even do that and not just take him out of that is unbelievable. But that is as far as it's going to go. I mean, you somebody does the crossface, they're not going to call it the crippler crossface ever. There's not going to be a Wolverine. None of anything that has to do with him, not going to happen.
Absolutely. And like you said, to the fans out there, you can see him on the network, but other than that, stop bringing him up and shit. Like, I mean, I just to be honest and to be myself, this is me speaking as Jonathan right now and not Jay Reddy. Stop bringing him up. Stop asking him to be in the Hall of Fame. Stop putting him on the top whatever. Stop trying to keep making him relevant. Anybody who would murder their child and their wife, and you find that it's okay because they were great at their profession, you are a sick individual and you need to get help. But other than that, that is all I really want to talk about on that subject. Let's move on to our final thoughts. Lady Great One, you can start us off with your final thought.
All right. My final thought, I'm sorry, I had to gather myself for a second there because I started getting all heated and everything. I had to dry my face a little bit because I was almost to tears. But let me get back on a happier note. One of my favorite superstars, The Miz, won the National Softball Celebrity Hall of Fame MVP award. How great is that? For the first time ever, a WWE superstar was even invited to attend. That means no Rock has been there, no Cena, no Orton, no Batista, none of your other biggest heroes, no Triple H was even invited. And The Miz, in his first year, was invited, won MVP. How wonderful is The Miz? Actually, no, he's not wonderful. He's awesome. And that is my final thought.
All right, Mr. VIP, go ahead and take us away with your final thought of the night.
Yeah, like Lady Great One said, it kind of got a little heated, Just the fact when I said what he actually did, just the picture started going in my head, and I'm like, that's wow. But what we were talking about last week about the fans and stuff, I had watched this video, and the video was talking about what's wrong with the WWE, and it was saying how the main roster, that a lot of people are more interested in what's going on backstage than what's going on stage. But the difference is with NXT, people don't really care what's going on backstage. You just want to see what's happening on stage. And if the whole company can get to the point where who cares what's going on backstage, we just want to see the great matches, the great promos, the great interviews, just get back to that. And I think it's hard pressed to find somebody that's not a fan of NXT. And if the whole company can get that same formula, we could have a great show again.
Absolutely. And I can definitely agree with that. Definitely on both sides, there can be an improvement. All right. If that's your final thought, I'm gonna end with my final thought of the night. Other than wrestling, anybody who knows me, especially my wife, shout out to the first lady out there. That one of my favorite shows to currently watch outside of WWE right now is MTV2 and Nick Cannon's Wildin' Out. This has been out for a couple of years. There's always been some great guests that come on there. Truly funny show. You see a lot of people from our area of North Carolina that are on there. Your Chico Beans, Darren Brands, radio personality B Dot. All of those faces are faces that we know and love, and it's good to see them on there. Tonight, however, and I don't know if it's aired or not yet. I'm definitely going to check once we get off the podcast here. The special guest on Wild 'N Out will be none other than the current WWE Intercontinental Champion, Dolph Ziggler. For people who know Dolph Ziggler, other than wrestling, Dolph likes to dabble in comedy, so this is right up his alley. I don't know how funny he's going to be, but I can tell you, I'm definitely excited to watch, and I can't wait to see what he's gonna do. Hopefully, somebody might get Zigzag to put to sleep. That'll make it even that much better.
Somebody gonna get super kicked.
Even the super kick. If he super kicked Nick Cannon one time, that's worth watching the whole damn episode.
That'll be
I
the
would rather him
greatest
put in
show
a favor,
ever.
sir. Put him in a favor, sir. Come on now.
And then he could make Nick Cannon famous.
And then steal his girl.
Well, he ain't got one right now. He can
It's
still
still
get
a
famous.
show.
But yeah, I can't wait to watch that episode. It's going to be funny. It'll definitely give me something to put me on a higher note other than that topic that we just discussed. So I can't wait to watch that. Other than that, that is my final thought of the night. Once again, I loved the show, loved being on here. Lady Great One, Mr. VIP, those are not just my co-hosts, that's my family. You know, I wouldn't love to do this show with anybody other than these guys. So definitely, once again, it was great doing it tonight. But that is going to conclude our show. Marking Out Amongst Friends, episode 16, out.